Hi everyone, welcome to my channel again, and if you're here for the first time, thank you for watching. My name is Laura Oral and I'm a psychic medium, and tonight I'm going to be answering some questions that some of the people from my YouTube community have written. They're just basically going to be mini readings, and I think there are about 17 of them, and I will go through as many as I can and see how I go. I have said my prayer beforehand and I'm ready to tune in and start working. I'll actually put a disclaimer up on the screen, and I like to have a disclaimer there, just purely so I can be a bit responsible with, because this is, even though I'm intuiting the information and I am trying to be as accurate as possible in delivering what I'm receiving, I am human, I'm not infallible. And so you can take that information and translate it the way you feel is best for yourself. Okay, getting started with the questions, and I will go through them one by one. I have actually read through the questions this time. Last time I didn't read through the questions. So starting with the first question, my question is, what will happen with the Swedish immigration problems that we have? The shootings, the killings happen almost every day. Do you see any change? Thanks. Yes, I do see change. And I actually see this problem in a lot of countries. From when I've started doing my global readings, I'm seeing these problems globally, and a lot of countries are experiencing them. Excuse me. Some more than others. Some with more violence. For example, the UK, I feel, is really becoming quite serious. And the protests that are happening in places in different parts of the UK, people are starting to fight back. But what I'm seeing for Sweden, I'm getting a feeling that you're quite a polite society. Okay. You're quite a polite society, so you've kind of been quite accepting of immigrants coming into your country and very open to people, Middle Eastern people and people from more third world countries. You've actually been quite benevolent in receiving them into your country. I feel also too, they've come in and they seem to have assimilated quite well in terms of being given advantages and being able to settle in and do economically do well for themselves. I do feel the influx is much great. The ideology that they're coming with is more extreme, and there seems to be an underlying objective that seems to be happening globally, to actually create chaos. So very sorry to hear that there are shootings and killings happening there and you're concerned. What I can share from what I'm feeling is, and I believe I've said this in one of my other videos, I do see peace will start to come in towards the end of 2027. I feel that there are a lot of things that, if we want to see how things are going globally, we have to keep an eye on a few key things that are happening. The Ukraine-Russian war, the Middle East, what's happening in the UK, and what's happening in the US. These are the key areas that we need to keep an eye on and where the shifts are occurring. And so I believe what's already begun is the nations of the European Union and part of the United Nations and NATO. They're being influenced by the new administration in America, in the United States. And because they're moving very rapidly in changing global hold on how things were progressing, if we talk about the period of COVID and moving forward from there and what was happening with lockdowns and censorship and people feeling like they weren't able to express themselves, that is shifting. That is shifting, but there is a lot of resistance. And until those changes really start to happen in the US, and they are already influencing the political structure in the European Union, and with where NATO is also supporting the Trump administration's agenda and so forth. So there's a lot of resistance to the Trump administration agenda, and the agenda being that they're wanting world peace, they're wanting sovereign nations, they're wanting good, strong economy, democracy. They want to get rid of any Marxism or socialism. And that is what the battle is at the moment. And the chaos that's happening is all part of that. So I know that you're feeling it closely because it's happening in your home area, country, as many of us are concerned about. But what I can see is as we're moving into the end of 2025, moving into 2026, and perhaps up into the first part of early 2027, I do see it's going to be a very volatile period for a lot of countries. And it's going to be civil unrest in a lot of countries. And it needs to take its path. There's no turning back. And it will come to a crescendo that it needs to be purged. And it won't be a full-out war globally. It's going to be civil unrest, and there are minor conflicts here or there that probably either proxy wars or whatever they are that are contributing to that unrest. So as they start to get settled and inflation starts to shift, reduce, wealth starts to increase, and policies start to change, there is a shift away from socialist, communist, Marxist ideology. People are waking up. People are not only waking up, but they're feeling more emboldened to speak up now. And I do actually see that Sweden is a very polite society and you've tolerated a lot. But I'm seeing that voices will start to stand, but I don't see the clash of violence that I actually see in some other places, in some other countries. And I feel you're fortunate for that. But what I'm seeing with Sweden is there may be more targeted attacks and intimidation. And I'm seeing violence. I'm seeing violence against women, especially. I feel the disrespect towards the Western women in your country. So I'm seeing that is an issue. And I don't see your government being problematic, to be honest. I actually see them. I see probably towards 2028, 2029 is going to be some kind of change where they're going to start to introduce deportations. I'm seeing that more towards 2029 for you. 2028, 2029, there's going to be a shift in actually moving some people out of your country. I feel you've been tolerating that for quite some time, probably before it's been happening mainstream, and it's just kind of grown, and it's almost like becoming overwhelming for you guys. And I do see that will shift, but it's going to be, I see peace will start to set in, things will start to settle down towards the end of 2027, 2028, and 2029. So my prayers go out to all of us, to you, and thank you for sharing your question. I hope I've been of some help. Okay, the next question. Hi, Laura. Do you see a time when our civilization will become peaceful, perhaps in the near future? I hope I answered that question in the previous question for the Swedish question. I do. I do see it's now actually reached a point where there are too many things that have been, we're talking a history of moving towards this type of shift that it has to continue its path to a point, and it has to come to, like I said before, some kind of crescendo, some kind of big point where it will just have to purge. And that's where we're heading towards. So I do see peace coming. I don't see any global takeover where that would have been the path, but I will say that many people may not agree with me, and I've received abuse, but I actually feel, honestly, the Trump administration is a godsend in what they're trying to shift globally. They are building traction. They're moving quite rapidly, but they're facing a lot. And there's constantly a lot of obstacles coming in their way to destabilize. And it's once the momentum builds enough where those things won't matter and it won't affect the policies moving forward, that's when peace will start to come in. But we've yet to see civil unrest and more violence, unfortunately, but there will be peace. I do see that there will be peace. Okay, I'll come back to that question. Okay. All right. Question, what do you predict for the current Australian Labor government? Is there any chance for the Liberal to win the next election? Will Australia become a republic after the King dies? It's, excuse me. In my last Q&A last week, I actually did sense that Albanese government, the Labor government, will win another term. At this stage, I still feel that. Where I have actually progressed in what I'm sensing is this rare earth minerals agreement that they've done with the US just a few days ago. I have actually seen that there would be a lot of interest for mining in our country for rare earths, and I saw particular regions for that happening. I did see that China would take a particular interest in that, but I think because of the trade negotiations and the back and forth between China and the US in terms of trade, and China wanting to hold out in producing rare earth minerals for the US. The US is actually, I feel that they're really playing like 5D chess, and they have come in and they've made an agreement to not only mine, but to manufacture and produce it, whatever they're going to do here. And I feel it's actually going to, even though the government, the Labor government is very aligned with that the Paris Accord and the Green New Deal and climate change, the influence that the Trump administration is going to have will start to rub off a little bit. But there are a lot of people that are behind Labor and pushing for those policies to keep on going. So it's a good thing for us economically. It's a good thing. It's going to start to make a shift in some areas, and it will probably protect us from China coming in and doing that. But at this stage, I still feel that Labor will win. And will we become a republic? Well, what's really interesting is I am beginning to get a strong sense, and I may report on this in other videos when I have a little bit more clarity, but I'm actually starting to get quite a sense that the Trump and his administration are making some kind of global shift in relation to how the Commonwealth actually integrated with many nations. And I feel that they're going to be, that they're trying to shift away from 80, 100-year, whatever it is, whatever it's been, control by Great Britain. And there is a possibility for us to become a republic, which, if it was influenced of being part of the United States, would be a good thing. Not a vassal state to China, but if this kept on moving forward, I could actually see that the United States is made a power move coming to Australia and working with Australia and getting in early. And they've made not just a power move, but made a really strong statement globally as well. And I'm going to be tuning into this and talking about this in further videos once I kind of get more clarity on it. But yes, I do feel at this stage Labor will win another term. I do feel that there's a possibility of us becoming a republic. If there's any kind of referendum, as I said last time, I don't believe that it will happen before 2032. If it happens after 2032, there is the possibility of that happening. And so how old is King Charles? King Charles is probably around, I see him passing at around age 80, 82. I think I've written that up in my UK predictions. So we're looking at a few years. That could probably coincide with King William, possibly. We'll see. Stay tuned. We'll see. Okay, next question. Will the digital ID go ahead in UK? Thanks so much. Yes, it will. The UK has actually been, I'll be diplomatic in my response, quite hard in pushing a authoritarian state, so to speak. So with some cities being a 15-minute city, introducing that 15-minute city, and with the influx of what's happening with the migrants, the change of people in government that are allowing the culture to shift. So I feel that the UK is in trouble. Yeah. I do see that the UK is in trouble, and I do see UK imploding. I see parts of UK, I see that Northern Ireland will actually stand up and fight back quite strongly. I feel England, they've kind of been beaten to submission a little bit. There are factions of people within the UK, they're starting to stand up and starting to protest, and there are more people emboldened in doing that. But I do feel they're not, as a big whole, they're not united enough to actually push something forward. When the opposition stands up more united, that will make a shift. But at this point, while the government, the current government's in power, and I do see at this point that they may possibly, I can't remember whether I said that they would win the next election. I don't see Keir Starmer being around, but I do see that they're going to push forward with the digital ID, but it will be reversed in any new government that comes in. So it's another thing of it's just going to have to continue on its path. And the only way there's going to be a shift is when people are emboldened and start to stand up and protest, and that builds momentum, and you become more united in that stance, and not just the citizens, but it's going to have to be members of government, members of people running for government, influential people standing together and really making a strong statement. And whatever policies that they try to put forward will actually be reversed. I see that there could honestly be a bit of turmoil there leading into even 2030, 2032. So I've got more videos to do on the UK. I'll see what unfolds for more clarity, but just in this brief reading, at this point, I do see it going ahead. And I do see that once there is a change of government, that they will actually reverse some policies, but not all the policies. They're going to actually need a lot of people standing up protesting to actually make a big shift. You're going to need somebody who's quite rebellious stepping up to actually make those shifts. And I do see that that will happen, but I feel that there's not enough power behind a united front in that happening at this point. It's still building for a big shift to happen. It's still not at that point. Unfortunately, what's occurring, the momentum that's occurring is more control, more suppression, more intimidation, and then more violence. There will be clashes. So it will have to actually reach a point where it's really difficult and unbearable for some things to shift. In some pockets more than others. Okay, next question. I hope that's answered your question. The next question, again for the UK, will Keir Starmer be out before Christmas? My first response was yes. Hmm. Yes. Interesting. Okay, I'm curious because I've surprised myself with the response that I got. So we'll see. If it's not before Christmas, it's going to be early. I'm seeing March is significant as well. So something's either going to be put in motion leading up to Christmas and maybe the first 3 months, 4 months of next year, possibly. So I would say, where are we now? Within the next 4 to 6 months, yes. I feel he'll be out. He'll be out before the next election is due. And I feel they're going to put somebody else in place that may not stay in there long either. There is a lot of opposition happening, and a lot of people are starting to rise. You've got to just keep that momentum up for that to happen, for that shift to happen. But I feel like there may possibly be another change of hands before an actual election. Okay. Next question. I have a request if you can include it for Cape Verde's future. I don't really know Cape Verde. I've not really heard of it. I looked it up briefly. I believe is it an island nation somewhere off the coast of Africa somewhere? I don't know whether it's something like a Madagascar or something like that. So I'm kind of getting mixed images here. So I'm kind of getting, I don't know whether it is a tropical setting, whether it's a place that's touristy, whether it's open. I'm seeing Westerners on the island, that foreigners on the island that go to that are on that island, if it is an island. So I'm not quite sure. I should probably just look that up quickly and maybe I can, yeah, I don't know how to look that up quickly. So let me just see, and maybe I can cut this part out. 30. Oh, it is. It's an island. It is an island. Cabo Verde. Okay, it looks a little bit more secluded. I don't know. Um, okay, so yeah, what I was getting was it was a little bit more tropical. If it's something more like a Madagascar or something like that. I do see, I don't know if they're wealthy people that go there, but I do actually see it wouldn't be a bad place to be. I'm getting that it's okay financially as well. It's a wealthy state, possibly. It's, I don't know if it's like a playground to more the wealthy, but I'm getting something around that. But I do see that there's poverty in parts as well. So I don't feel it's just an island just for a tourist. I actually feel that there are residents who do live there. Yeah, locals I'm seeing. I'm not quite sure, but the feeling that I get from it is a positive feeling. I don't know if they've actually had problems with rubbish coming in from the ocean or rubbish along the shorelines or something like that, but I'm seeing something that they may need to, that they're going to have to address. And I'm also getting that there's kind of like rising waterways there, receding shorelines and rising waterways. I don't know if it's a volatile place for weather, weather storms or something like that. So I feel like it's a nice place, but then it can be a little volatile weather-wise. I feel weather-wise it may be a little bit more volatile. I don't see it being overpopulated. And I do see it to be a little more laid back, but I see pockets that can be a little more busy. But I do see it's a little bit more laid back, but I'm curious to check it out now. Okay, let me know. All right, next question. Would you please do an update on Australia? I mentioned it briefly, and I will actually be bringing out a video next week for Australia, so part 2. So stay tuned, and you can watch some of last week's Q&A as well. At the beginning, I talk about it in the beginning. Okay, I'll come back to that. You mentioned house prices will dip in Australia. Can you please provide more information of when and how much? Are we talking 20, 30%? Okay. What I'm sensing is kind of getting a few things happening here. So I'm getting an influx of people. They're looking at bringing in more migrants into our country, more than they normally do. And it's going to happen at a rate where they don't really, they're trying to talk that they're going to have an infrastructure built for it, but I feel there could be just too much growth of population and not enough housing. So I heard recently that the median house price in Australia is in I think New South Wales is $1 million, and I see that still going up, but I do see that that can't be sustained. And are we talking 20, 30% in a dip? The image that I'm getting right now, I'm actually getting it symbolically. So it's nothing specifically with numbers, but I'm getting an image, and the image that I'm seeing is almost like those markers, those, things that like a graph. And I see it going dun 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 dun. So it's not going to go crash like this. It's going to drop, 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 and then dip. And so the drop, drop, drop will be incremental, and there's going to be a big dip. And that big dip, I'm just getting 15%, is that big dip. So there will be a incremental drop before there's a big dip. And that incremental dip will be 15%. But if you also add that incremental drop, which will happen over a period of 2 to 3 years, possibly, I see it going up. I see prices, house prices continue to go up actually over the next 2-3 years. There will be a period within that 2-3 year period that will drop, may shake the market a little bit, but it will begin to rise again. So I don't see 20-30%, to be honest, no. I see it's actually a smaller figure, but you will notice it in the incremental changes. And there'll be some places that will actually hold their value. They won't change. Key places like the eastern suburbs, or that's in New South Wales. I don't know where else in Australia, because I'm from New South Wales, from Sydney. But there'll be key areas that are probably fairly stable. So whatever the prices are, they will be quite stable. It's the areas that where there was a bit of a boom is where there's going to be a bit of a dip. I'm seeing them in some maybe redeveloped areas where there were more rural areas, where they were building in areas where there were probably more flood zones and things like that, where they overbuilt in those areas. That's where I'm seeing the issues may be as well. I'm seeing that they're building too much in areas that normally weren't designed to be built in, and the issues that can come with change of weather and those kind of emergencies will also affect the value of those prices. If there was a dip, that they will actually be affected first. So if you're looking at properties that are in stable areas where they've been growing for quite some time and they're actually good areas and well-known established areas, they will tend to hold their value. I'm getting a sense that it's going to be in areas where they weren't valuable initially. There was just an influx of people that were wanting to buy that drove those prices up, and that's where it's going to be affected. And they probably are the areas that could go down 20-30%, to be honest. In those other places, more stable places, I'm seeing between 5 and 15%. But in those places where they were kind of overdeveloped or developed in areas where generally you wouldn't think to build, I do see big dips in those values in those areas. I hope that's helped you. Okay. Will Trump succeed in annexing Greenland? Just got yes. Yes. And I actually feel the people from Greenland want some protection and want some, what's the word? Prosperity. They want something to happen to bring something into the country, because I'm not sure if Trump's wanting to mine there. I've just seen this in passing. I haven't really followed it, so I'd be curious. But I feel that yes, he will. 2026, 2027, I feel that Trump, he's wanting to actually really build, protect areas for the US. So he's not wanting China or any other country to come in so they can develop and then perhaps be some kind of military risk towards the United States. So I do feel that will happen, and I do feel that the people from Greenland are actually going to welcome the possibility of what may come out of that. I see that something around 2026, 2027 is going to start booming there or happening there. There's going to start happening there. I do feel that they've got to get Ukraine, Russia, and the Middle East under control as well. That's going to affect perhaps the timing of that happening there. But yes, I do see that happening. Okay. I'd like to ask if anyone, example, in the Trump team or an authority within Canada are fighting the CCP's influence on Canada, and if they will be successful, will their influence on Canadian affairs diminish or be eradicated? Yes, they will. Uh, my first response was yes, they will. And I feel there's going to need to be a shift because I just did a video on Canada. I'm just trying to tune into what I'd actually put up and written in there. Uh, I see that some of those states, I I see what's going to happen at least the next 5 or 6 years. Yeah, I see the next 5 or 6 years. There's it's there's going to be some struggles in some of those states where changes won't be happening for another 5 or 6 years in terms of really making a shift. I don't know. I see something happening with Canada. What am I seeing? Uh, I am seeing some kind of separation. Now, I know that I said I didn't see Alberta separating and becoming the 51st state, but I see something separating within something about land rights. I'm being shown something about land rights. Something's being split down the center in a lot of the natural landscape. I don't know if there's something happening with the development, but okay. There's something to do with development in natural landscape, and I feel it could be foreign investment trying to come in and there's going to be conflict around that. You're going to be split. They'll be split within your country about allowing that. So if the government that's in power, if they allowed that, there's going to actually be pushback on it, and there's going to be because they're going to allow some things to happen in those natural landscapes that people don't want to happen. So I see that going through the map and through the center down. Where am I seeing that? I'm seeing that in those. So it's not there. I'm seeing it down towards. I'm seeing it between. So your east coast, is that Ontario? And then you've got Alberta. So I'm seeing it center more towards Ontario, more towards Winnipeg. I'm getting Winnipeg, that region. I'm not overly familiar, but I'm seeing something through that region. I'm also seeing an earthquake going. Oh, I mentioned that as already, but that's what I'm seeing, an earthquake. Maybe that's what I'm seeing is going through. But yeah, that's going to come soon, that earthquake. And it's going to be stronger than you would normally experience in those areas, and it will actually cause some kind of flooding, like I mentioned in that video. But also, too, there's something to do with the land and something to do with excavation in the Rocky Mountains. I'm seeing, so the Rocky Mountains is further west, this side. Is that west? Um, I don't know if there's a boundary to the US somewhere along there. Like, is there like a Colorado US side, and is there a Canadian side through the Rockies? I'm seeing something along there as well. I don't know if they do mining out there. I don't, but there's something about redevelopment in those natural landscapes, and I do see there's going to be some kind of pushback. I hope I've been able to help you there. I do see that the CCP, their influence will be put in check, but with the current administration, no. It's going to have to really be when the new administration's in power. And you may just want to watch that last video that I did, because I can't remember everything to what I put in there. So if you watch it, then just ask questions on that. Okay, let's move on. Okay, I'm going to go back up to the top because I've missed a couple of things. Okay, any news about the Atlas 31? Is there any connections to open contact? Atlas 31 is, people say, is a comet that's moving through space, and other people are saying that it could actually be an alien spaceship. And is there any open connection? I do see it moving rapidly. I actually see it's a comet. I see it's a comet. I don't see that it is a spaceship, but I do see there's going to be some kind of contact or communication that's going to come forward about, but it's not around Atlas. I see Atlas. If there's something that I'm unaware of, I'll see if something unfolds for me. But at the moment, what I'm being shown, what I'm able to actually understand, is because I'm getting images and I'm seeing it actually move through space very quickly, and I do see it's leaving a trail, like it's burning as it's moving. I see it just moving in a trajectory, just straight, like it's moving. It's not darting. It's actually moving. I do see it making physical contact with things, but not communication contact. But I do see there will be some kind of contact that will come through from radio waves or something that they're actually going to pick up, and it's going to be brought forward as well. And something around crop cycles as well that I'm getting. I'd be curious to see if there are any new crop cycles that appear if it gets closer. I'm not quite sure how close Atlas is going to get. I don't know. I just keep on getting it's like not close to us at this point. It's on like the other side of the sun at this point. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm not getting a lot of clarity on that at this point, so I can't say any more. But if anything does come up, I will mention further. Excuse me. Okay. Got that. I'll come back to that one. Where are space places in the world the next few years? What do you think is going on with this telepathy in autistic children? What's going to happen with artificial intelligence in the long run? Is China going to beat the USA in the AI race, starting in reverse? Absolutely not. China won't beat US in the AI race. I actually feel that they're quite behind, to be honest. I feel the Trump administration is moving at such a pace, and they've really got technology that is going to be quite advanced, and they're working on some advanced technology. I feel it very, very strongly. And I feel that what the US has done in this agreement with Australia is very impactful, very, very impactful. And the fact that they've come forward, and I feel the critical minerals that they're needing for the infrastructure for AI, which we have here, and how they plan to do it is going to be very, very, very advancing for the US, for Australia. Australia's going to be involved in that technology and is going to progress with the US in that technology. That's probably going to be our saving grace. The artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence and AI coming hand in hand. People don't realize, okay, let me say this from what I understand. A lot of people don't realize that in order to have the artificial intelligence and the AI and the advanced technology that they're needing, they're going to need, it's very electrical. The grid's going to have to be very electrical, and they're going to need the resources to produce the amount of electricity in the grid to actually be able to sustain something that powerful. Now, I would like to explore further and understand exactly what their agreement is between Australia and the US and how they're going to do this, because they're not just going to mine for the minerals. I believe that they're going to set up where they're going to be producing what they're needing here in some kind of form of manufacturing. And I feel that that could potentially shift the way the Labor government may break away from, I'm just getting this now, so I'm just going to say it, but I will keep an eye on it, but I'm just going to say it as I feel it and whether I'm translating it accurately. I'm just feeling that this has actually made a shift. This may potentially make a shift in the way Australia was planning to do green energy. I feel that they're still going to do it, but I feel Labor is going to break away a little bit from the Greens pushing this Green New Deal and this Paris Accord and what they're wanting to do with the carbon net zero and so forth, carbon tax and net zero and so forth. So I feel that it is a possibility under the influence of this agreement that they may require some more stable energy, and wind and solar is not going to be as stable to produce the amount of AI and artificial intelligence, the electrical grid that they're going to require for this. And so it may be an advantage it may be that Australia is going to start exploring nuclear energy is what I'm getting, more than coal. Now, I know that they were shutting down coal plants. I'm just getting that the one in Newcastle may possibly reopen. They're not going to, I don't think they've closed it down. They're not going to close it down completely. There's going to be two. And Western Australia is going to actually have one either reopen as well. There's going to be mining that's going to start booming in this industry. And I mentioned it before, I believe, and I'm getting it very strongly again. They're going to bring manufacturing it's going to revive. And the relationship, then the influence of the administration, the Trump administration, is going to be very impactful with Albanese and his government. And even though Albanese is aligned with the Greens and the Green New Deal, and that he was wanting that to be his legacy, I do actually feel, because of this agreement and because of the way he was received in the US and because of the way he was respected, and it was good for his ego, I feel that he's actually going to be very open to looking at other energy solutions that are going to be more effective and then bring down the prices for us here in Australia. I actually feel that it will be a good time for us, but there is competition, and I'm getting that China owns a lot of land in places that we're not familiar with. and there may be restrictions. They may try to put restrictions where there may be some kind of conflict with where they can start digging. So the government has to start to be assertive. And if Labor's going to have to break away from the Greens or break away from some of their policies in order to actually establish moving forward mining development and manufacturing. And yeah, I'm actually getting a very positive feeling. I feel like it's actually, this deal is much greater than we realize, and it's actually not against the Chinese. I don't feel that this move, it's America was obviously wise enough to move forward and do this, but I feel that there's something greater coming forward, and I feel it's between US and UK, or should I say the Commonwealth. I do see the Commonwealth decreasing in size. I do see the Commonwealth actually losing a lot of their power globally. I do see America when I say under the Trump administration, if they move fast enough and are able to overcome the obstacles that are coming their way, which they seem to be doing, they're going to be aligning themselves with some countries that may be Commonwealth countries that may actually become former Commonwealth countries. And I get a very strong feeling, I'm getting a very strong feeling that the US may almost try to set up something like the Commonwealth for the United States. And I feel that Australia is in their sights for them to make some kind of alliance with us. That's longer term, but I'm not seeing that it's that far away. I'm seeing 5 or 6 years, there's going to be some major shift. So I would say 5 or 6 years, you're going to start to see some major shift. By 2035, there's going to be some significant changes in the global map in where Commonwealth countries were once before, may not be. And it may be more America in its place. I feel the plan that Trump has is to actually stop this authoritarian takeover long term, and people know it, and it's very precarious. So we need to pray for him and his administration that he can achieve that. Okay, I will move forward. Let me see, have I missed something? Got that. Okay, this person's written 3 responses. Okay, they're long, and let me go through them. Do you see any large-scale disaster in Italy in the fall of 2026? My wife can see the future and says that there will be an eruption of the Campi Flegrei supervolcano. A lot of ash will be thrown into the atmosphere, and this ash will darken the sky. The sun will not be visible in Eurasia for the next 2 years. The most difficult phase will last from September 2026 to January 2027. People will stay at home as they did during the coronavirus pandemic, only it will be even more difficult because going outside and breathing without a mask will be dangerous to their health, as the ash will contain particles of glass. At the same time, this eruption will cause significant changes in the magnetic field, which will cut off electricity in the half of the world for 3 days and shut down the stock market and the cryptocurrency market, both of which will experience a collapse unlike anything ever seen in history. Okay, that's a lot there. Let me take it in chunks. Do I see a large-scale disaster in Italy in the fall of 2026? Yes. But I see more civil war than anything else at this point. Um, I'm getting a feeling that that may be more symbolic than actual. What would happen is when I get, so let me just digress for a moment to just explain how I actually receive symbolism sometimes and sometimes. So uh, I'm not sure if it's the same for your wife. She seems very intuitive. I'm not sure whether it works this way for her as well, but for myself. So ever since I was a child, I actually always was able to foresee things and have dreams, but sometimes they would be quite symbolic by nature. And sometimes if I saw events or some kind of serious situations, like for example, murders or robberies or something, sometimes I would be the victim, sometimes I would be the perpetrator, sometimes I would hover above and I would see it without actually being there. So if I felt I was the victim, there would be a lot of fear. Um, and I could become quite paranoid with that actual feeling. And so sometimes my perception would be slanted in how I actually process that. And so when something unfolded, I realized it was more a symbolism or more of me seeing something outside in a different perspective. So I got a feeling as I was reading this that it could quite possibly be a symbolism, although I do see a volcano eruption. I don't see it to this degree. I don't see it to this degree. I don't see that there's glass. And in saying that, I could be wrong. And I would like to say that you should always listen to your wife and you should always trust your wife. And that's why I put up my disclaimer at the beginning of the video. So I could be inaccurate in what I'm perceiving right now, but I can only go by first feelings and first impressions and share that. And usually the people having the vision, they're feeling it the strongest. And it would really be on how your wife receives the visions and how they actually eventuate from how she sees it, whether it's more symbolism or whether it's actually as she sees it. Like if she sees a car crash, it actually is a car crash. Um, the way I'm perceiving this is during that period, there's going to be a rocky period throughout the globe. There may be, I see a lot of civil unrest. Now, the symbolism that I'm getting from reading this is during this period is going to be, this is the World War III that I was referring to. This is going to be the period of a lot of civil unrest, a lot of violence in some places. I do actually see shutdown. I see shutdown in some places, not globally, but in some places it could actually cause some kind of, and if there is some kind of blackout, it would be more of an attack that's happened, a terrorist attack that's happened, than I see it with a natural disaster. But in seeing that, I actually am seeing simultaneously, I'm seeing two volcanoes going off in different parts of the world. But it's not the eruption that you're seeing. So I'm trying to understand whether this is also, I do feel that that is a natural disaster. So the particles of glass, not being able to breathe, I don't see how you can get particles of glass in ash from a volcano unless it's is silicon or something, perhaps. But I feel that that's symbolic and it could actually be something that happens like a terrorist attack and the glass is being shattered, and I'm feeling that this is very symbolic. Uh, the sky will darken, that will not be visible. I feel that, yeah, I feel a lot of this is symbolic. Um, But I am seeing that there will be a period of some natural disasters happening. I'm seeing tidal waves. I am seeing two volcanoes. I'm seeing a volcano. I'm getting Indonesia and I'm getting Iceland. What I'm seeing for Italy is I'm getting a lot of marches in the street. I'm getting a lot of people in the street getting up, standing and marching. And there will be, I do see that there will be problems in the street. So, yeah, I'd be curious. I'd be curious to see how that unfolds. And yeah, a shift in the magnetic field. Well, there's already been a shift in the magnetic field. I've that for some years now, as it's actually the magnetics are actually weakening. The Schumann resonance has been shifting. I don't see that we're going to flip or anything like that. That's going to happen. I don't see it being catastrophic. I really don't. I see that there will be pockets of things happening, but it won't be a global catastrophe. Um, and if you're relating it to a coronavirus pandemic, that's something that happened. That's something that happened globally. That was initiated by a small group of people for that to happen. I am getting that they will try. They will try to do another outbreak, and I also feel that there'll try to be some kind of chemical warfare and terrorist attacks that are going to try to silence people. So they're making it hard to breathe. Could be more the symbolism, the glass, and it could be more explosions, or it could be more bioweapons being released into the environment, is what I'm seeing. So, like I said, trust your wife and respect your wife. And for me, from my perspective, I actually see it more symbolic, but there is a lot of parallels to that happening. Uh, I see more terror attacks and, yeah, another potential virus outbreak, but I see it short lasting. So, yeah, okay. Experience a crypto market collapse more than anything other in history. I feel, again, I'm getting, so I feel that if there was water breakout, or if there was bombings to happen, it's going to be a very short, condensed period. So 26, 27 is a very precarious time. This is what I'm really sensing. Um, and however that manifests, it's valid in what I'm saying, it's valid in what your wife is saying and what other people are saying. How that unfolds, it's going to be interesting to see, but I do see it's for that short period. Uh, the electricity. So what I'm seeing is all these things that were being introduced was to actually, this Green New Deal and forcing us to try to sort of uh, to to shift everything into. Oh, I've kind of gone blank here. I don't know how to express it. I've kind of lost my momentum. I'll have to come back to that. I may have to cut this bit out. Okay, I think I'm running out of steam. It's been going for a while. I don't even know how long I've been recording for. I'll have to come back to that. This is a pretty big topic and I'm not able to express it clearly. Okay. Do you see the war? between India and Pakistan in 2026. My wife, who can see the future, says she sees many refugees from India and Pakistan trying to get into all countries, Europe, the US, Asia countries, even Russia. Some of them will leave to live there. So President Trump has actually been able to settle the war. There was rising tensions between India and Pakistan, both being nuclear countries, and he was able to do that through trade agreements. So if there is global unrest, that could perhaps cause some kind of rising tensions between those countries that could be reignited. What I'm seeing is honestly, I don't see that happening where you're going to get all of this mass refugees and migrations migrating into these countries that they're actually closing the border. I don't see that happening. I don't see that happening. I saw that did happen. I'm not saying that it doesn't, but I'm not seeing that happening. If they're trying to actually remove refugees, they're not going to bring in new refugees. And yeah, this is interesting. I'm not seeing it to the degree that your wife is seeing it. Okay, like I said, I could be way off track. Um, okay, your last question. This is your third question. There is a cryptocurrency called XRP. It is currently worth about $2, but my wife thinks it will be worth around $200 to $300 in about 5 years. The company Ripple will somehow be connected to the banking system in the US and around the world, and this will greatly increase the value of XRP. What do you see happening with XRP in the next 5 years? Well, you're sort of saying in the next couple of years, cryptocurrency is going to be, shut down and experience a collapse like never seen before in history. And so you're talking about a period after that time. Does that mean that XRP will be wiped off the map as well? I'm not quite sure, to be honest. And I'm going to be mindful in answering questions to this nature. I feel that that's something, a discussion you're going to have with your wife about this. I'm going to be mindful of actually answering questions like this. I don't want to be irresponsible in answering a question like this where I may be saying something contrary to what your wife is saying, and I don't want you taking financial advice from me. So I think that this is a question that I'm going to choose to not answer. Okay, moving on. Okay, a couple of questions. Okay, there are quite a few questions here. I'm going to have to leave it. There are some questions here. I'm going to read them out, and I might actually do them on a separate video, to be honest, because I've been talking for a while. So the question, where are where are space places in the world the next few years? What do you think is going on with this telepathy in autistic children? What's going to happen with artificial? Oh, okay. I didn't actually answer the whole question. So what I might do is on another video, I might speak specifically to telepathy in autistic children. Okay. I'll see what I get on that. that's, I feel, will be a separate video. Also too, have you ever commented on aliens? Are they real, or are we all just aliens or hybrids? And who rules the world, and who is behind the curtain? The Wizard of Oz. Okay, and who's running the show on Earth? Why are we actually here? It feels like we are sometimes in this beautiful place of temptation and love, and then other times it feels like utter hell. Excuse me. Thank you for your question. It's it deserves a thoughtful response for me to be able to tune in, and I will do that in another video. And I think there is one more question that I'll actually choose to do in another video as well. I want to do it justice. I feel that, yeah, I've been speaking long enough. The cherubim represents the 4 points of the Grand Cross. Entering the Aquarian age means approaching the Aquarian apocalypse. Unveiling, is it unveiling at the beginning of the Aquarian age, or slowly for 2000-ish years? What can Spirit tell us about these apocalypses? Aquarian the most important, or does most of it need to be a surprise? Okay, this is for another video. And I might make it specific to those questions on that video. They kind of just, the questions aren't in sync with some of the other questions. Okay, so thank you for listening. If you've listened all the way through, thank you for your patience. And until next time, goodbye.